Now, creating an employee table using these column definitions, where you have an ID, first name, and last name, would result in creation of these fields or columns in the table employee, and we can see these columns on the left-hand pane. But what we can point out straight away is that ID is set as not null. And this is a default behavior of primary key. So whenever we are going to define a column as a primary key, it will automatically become a not null kind of field. That means that it will not allow any null values within itself inside a table row or inside a table. And that makes sense because ID always needs to have some kind of value, as it is important for identification of any of the rows within a table. But what we can see, let me just expand this a bit further, that first name and last name by default are set as null. And that means that these are nullable fields and they can have a null value inside these columns in a table. So let me demonstrate a bit more. So what it means is that first name and last name can be set as null. So let me create another employee with first name null and last name, I don't know, let's say Johnson. And if I tab out, what I can see is that a new record has been created with an ID value of 5, and the last name is Johnson, but there's no first name, which doesn't make great deal of sense. And I can see a similar kind of behavior if I provide a first name. Let's say the first name is Alice, and I can skip this last name, and now I've got another employee with a first name but no last name. And that doesn't make a great deal of sense because if you are creating a table of employees, you would expect that all the employees would have a first name and last name. So you can create a constraint specifying that the first name and last name should also be not null, like you have in your primary key column, in your ID column. So to achieve that, what I can do is I can, first of all, because it's a major change, so I'll need to drop this table beforehand, and let me just refresh just to prove the point that it has been dropped. Now I can specify a constraint not null just by specifying not null over here, and I can also specify not null against last name. What it means is that I want these two columns to be not null as well, and you should not have any rows without any first name value or last name value. So if I execute this again, and it has been executed successfully, if I refresh it, I will see the dbo.employee table again with the columns as expected, ID, first name, last name. But what I can see over here is that all of these columns are not null. That means, let me just refresh it. Okay, that means that you would always have a first name value and always have a last name value, and you can't skip any of these fields and create a row successfully. So let me just show you. If I just want to have a last name and I ignore the first name, and if I tab out, I'll see that SQL Server has thrown an error saying column does not allow nulls, and it says column first name of table dbo.employee does not allow nulls. So you should have some kind of so I can say Bob Johnson, and once I tab out from here, I can see that now the first name, now the employee has been successfully created. Now if I want to create an employee with the name of Alice but no last name, it will show the same error. So I can say Alice and Walsh, and now if I tab out, I'll see that it has created a row for employee successfully. So now we've seen the not null constraint inside a column definition. In the next clip, I will show you another constraint called a unique constraint.